In this video, we have the patch 5.07 notes rundown. What's going on, ProGuides family? It's your host Sergeant Frost with yet another patch notes rundown. The end of the act is near approaching as we have less than 2 weeks now before Act 3 is upon us. And to close out the act with a bang, Riot is making some major changes to the map Fracture, along with some pretty substantial agent changes too. This patch is going to shake up the meta quite a bit in time for the last act of 2022. Also, a quick reminder, if you want to catch up on gaining some RR before the end of the act, come visit us at ProGuides.com if you want an Immortal or Radiant coach to help you improve your game just in time for the final push at the end of the act. Now, let's jump into these patch notes because we've got a lot of changes this week. First up for the patch notes, let's tackle the new agent updates, because quite a few agents are being adjusted in this patch. The devs mentioned in their State of the Agents address in September that they wanted to make some changes to sharpen some of the agents and their role definitions. They mentioned that in regards to the Duelist class, a lot of duelists were being outclassed by some of the initiators when it came to generating kills for themselves off their flashes. SKYE and KAYO were the main culprits of this for the longest time, and it gave them immense kill pressure that some duelists just couldn't keep up with. A few of these agent changes are centered around increasing the team play output from some of the initiators when coordinating plays with their team, instead of them becoming selfish semi-duelists that use their utility for themselves to generate kills. Let's start the agent changes off with SKYE. SKYE's Guiding Light flashbang scaling has been changed. The max flash duration for SKYE's Guiding Light now scales from 1 second to 2.25 seconds over a 0.75 second charge up time after being cast. Guiding Light also can now no longer be shot and destroyed. There are also new visual effects, a UI, and sound to communicate with the flash's intent as well. And finally, the unequipped delay out of Guiding Light has been increased from 0.75 seconds to 0.85 seconds. In fewer words, SKYE's flash is receiving some nerfs and some buffs. The buffs for this ability are the fact that it has new visual effects and sounds to communicate better when SKYE has people flashed and when she doesn't. And the fact that her birds can now no longer be destroyed means that there is little counterplay against them now as well, as the only way you'll be able to counter them is by turning away from them. In terms of nerfs, however, SKYE's pop flashing has been heavily nerfed as the flash's duration now scales after being cast, which means you will now no longer get the full flash duration on enemies by quickly pop flashing. You now need to wait a little bit of time after casting in order to get the full flash duration. Overall, these changes are nice for SKYE as they balance her to a point where her flash is now tuned to be less oppressive while still giving SKYE some nice benefits. In this patch, only KAYO's flash drive ability is getting changed. The underhand or the right-click flashbang max duration has been decreased from 2 seconds to 1.25 seconds. But on the other side of the coin, the overhand, the left click, has been buffed from 2 seconds to 2.25 seconds. The unequipped delay out of both flashes has been increased from 0.6 seconds to 0.85 seconds. KAYO has been on the rise for most of this year now to a point where he is a force to be reckoned with in solo queue and in pro play. The devs talked about balancing him so that he could be more useful in ranked without becoming an even bigger terror in pro play in their agent's address. And I guess this is the best change they could come up with for now. This buff/nerf doesn't really hurt KAYO at all. It's just the devs trying to encourage players to use KAYO's flash in a different way than most people used it before. We said REYNA would need some monumental changes in order for her to be a competent meta agent again that could honestly contribute to team comps. This patch isn't giving major overhaul changes to REYNA, but we are at least getting some nice buffs to her Leer. The windup of near sight has been decreased from 0.6 seconds to 0.4 seconds. The range restriction on Leer has also been removed. The near sight unequipped delay has been decreased from 0.7 seconds to 0.5 seconds, and the duration has been decreased from 2.6 seconds to 2 seconds. In the past, REYNA's flash was underperforming as a selfish entry tool and the devs stated that. So these buffs are intended to give REYNA a reliable option for her and her team to entry with a flash that will actually get the job done and be less inconsistent. The devs also mentioned that these buffs should sharpen Leer as a powerful angle breaking tool against operators on maps with longer sightlines. These Leer buffs don't fix all of REYNA's problems in the meta, but they are certainly a great start for the time being. The devs still feel that YORU was a little too weak for their liking, even though he has proven to be a very powerful agent in a YORU main's hands. In this patch, they are giving his flash a little bit of love. YORU's Q blindside duration has been increased from 1.5 seconds to 1.75 seconds. There's also new flash visual updates being applied to the ability as well. The devs stated that they know YORU is a tricky agent to get right, and they need to balance him around throwing his flashes and his ultimate. Hopefully this flash buff can make his entries even more lethal for his attacking and his fragging game. Now onto the map updates. It's finally here. Fracture is getting some quality of life changes alongside some other changes to the A side of the map. The devs stated that they understand that the community has some qualms with Fracture's gameplay, as sometimes interactions that happened around the map were kind of wonky and even unfair at times due to the geography of the map. There are a decent amount of map adjustments in this patch, so let's quickly run through the map changes in order. In the arcade area, the devs opened up a new cubby to make it easier for the attacking side to hold against defender aggression from both directions. In the B site, the previous jump-up ledge has been changed into a ramp directly connecting to the site platform. The devs hope that this makes moving around this area more straightforward and less convoluted to navigate in intense situations. In the B generator area, the devs tightened up the space by decreasing the distance between the left wall and the edge of the generator. The devs hope that this change will make smoking this spot easier. And a small corner has also been removed to simplify the attempts to re-clear the site. A small change is happening in defender spawn. The devs removed a small cubby to make retakes through here easier. One less angle to worry about is always ideal, am I right? The devs improved movement through the area and simplified space in A halls by removing a corner. Once again, the devs are taking away 90-degree angle corners to make it so that attackers and defenders have less things to clear to make moving around the map easier and less stressful. There are just some minor simplifications happening to the A site area. It looks like the devs pushed the box on the top of the platform all the way to the left so that it's up against the wall now. Now, the dish area is probably getting the biggest map design change out of all the map adjustments in this patch. The dish itself is still the same, but the devs removed the far path to make moving through the space more direct for both sides. The devs stated that they found that players trying to watch and control the spaces around the dish made it quite difficult to play the area efficiently, which ultimately made dish unnecessarily difficult to hold for defenders and hard to clear for attackers. I mean, playing Ring Around the Rosie chasing enemies made for some fun clippable moments in game, but in all practicality, trying to play the dish area on either side of the map was a frustrating experience for most players. Hopefully these changes make the dish side of the map more approachable for players to use more often. The drop-down area is no longer a 50-50 peak for any attacker trying to push up and C into the A site when entering. This change should make it more appealing for attackers to craft strategies where they attack the A site by effectively pinching it from both sides now. The devs state that they think this path from A main to site, which has been dubbed sand, is too easy for attackers to control with one smoke. So they made adjustments to give defenders more options to control the initial hold for retaking A as well. You have to watch out for new defender strategies that effectively allow them to use new angles to ambush attackers that try to push through sand too quickly. And that is all for Fracture map changes. Hopefully all these changes make gameplay on Fracture smoother and less frustrating to play on. In the past, Fracture had some pretty weird gameplay interactions between teams because of the unconventional layout and the geography of the map. The devs hope that these map adjustments reduce some of those negative interactions and make the map more fun to play on. In progression updates, you can now mark favorites in collection. These favorites will persist for your account until you change them, and they will only allow you to filter down to the items that best represent your style best. This change includes weapon skins, player cards, sprays, buddies, and level borders. The devs added the ability to equip a random favorite player for every weapon type. And finally, the devs added the ability to filter your collection. This includes skins, cards, buddies, and borders. And finally, to wrap up the patch notes, let's start with the agent bug fixes. The devs have fixed an issue where KAYO's null CMD disabled Killjoy's turret if the turret was hit by a pulse and KJ was not. The devs fixed a bug where KJ's turret would fire straight forward after hitting an enemy and then continue to even after losing sight of them. The devs also fixed an issue where KJ's turret would fire with no target when coming online if it was disabled while firing at a target. The devs fixed an issue where Phoenix would not automatically re-equip a weapon at the end of his ultimate. The devs fixed Breach's Rolling Thunder showing dead enemies hit in the combat report. And finally, the devs fixed an issue where if a player was deafened by multiple sources, when the first deafen ended, it removed the deafening effect completely. And that is all for this patch 5.07 rundown. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing to our channel. Also, don't forget to check out ProGuides.com to gain some access to some truly amazing coaching. This has been your host Sergeant Frost, and good luck on the grind for the rest of the act.